Last week I talked about why upper extremity weight bearing is so critical after a neurologic injury that's affected your ability to move your arm, and the 4 major problems that it solves that hold people back in restoring normal arm movement. But the question is, what weight bearing exercise is best? And really, it all depends on what stage you're at in the recovery process and what your intended goal is. So in today's video, I want to answer that question for all of you by giving you the exact framework or kind of mental model that I go through when I'm trying to select which weight-bearing exercises are best for the patients that I'm working with. If you're new to this channel, I'm Tara. I'm a neurologic physical therapist with over 20 years of experience helping people restore their mobility and their independence after a neurologic injury. And all that said, my mission and my passion for this channel is that I can give you as many tools as possible so that you can feel confident making the best decisions today to get you to that next stage in your recovery process. And all that said, last week, like I said, if you missed that video, I highly recommend that you go back and watch that. I went into why weight bearing is so valuable and how it solves 4 major problems after a neurologic injury. It's definitely an essential video to watch prior to what we're going to dive into today, and that is how do you select the best weight bearing exercise based on what problem are you trying to solve for that we went over in that video. But if I were going to give you the kind of framework or the mental model that I use, the first thing that I would want you to know is that there are several different positions that you want to have the arm in when you're doing weight bearing, and all of them are important when it comes to restoring functional arm movement. And the first one is weight bearing or loading, getting that axial load that we talked about last week with the arm in a flexed position, with it in an abducted position, and the one that most people neglect or don't do as often is in extension, or that arm back behind you. All 3 of those positions help with that dynamic stability and out of synergy, especially this extension one, because most of you, part of your abnormal synergy pattern is that arm always being in front of you. But if you were going to try and choose one position, the first thing I would figure out is what problem is holding you back the most. If it's lack of sensory awareness, which we talked about last week, is there a position where you feel like you really get disconnected from your arm? That's the position I would focus on. If your problem is an abnormal synergy and you feel like the only movement your arm ever does is to pull forward, then I would work on having that arm behind you. If your problem is that you can do shoulder flexion in certain positions, but not in other positions, then the obvious one is you would want to focus on doing it with that arm in flexion, right? Because that's part of the movement for your long-term goal, or where you want to end up, or what you want to achieve by incorporating this exercise. Now, one big one that is a problem that most of you might not recognize is that elbow flare. Weight bearing is very, very good at minimizing that elbow flare because you can position the arm in certain positions when you do that loading that literally will block it from flaring out. The one that I love is extension. Loading that arm back behind you, because literally that arm cannot flare out to the side, or directly in front of you where you can almost use your hand to keep this arm straight and load it that way will stop it from doing this, right? So if just elbow flare, generally speaking, is a problem, weight bearing can definitely solve for that. I would focus on the flexion and the extension. Now, one decision to make that might be a little bit beyond just teaching you how to select the best exercise. This is kind of more getting in like to the nitty gritty or the details of kind of being a therapist. is scapular winging. Now, that's when the inside of the shoulder blade, let me get out my handy model here, the inside of the shoulder blade kind of pops off of the thorax, right? It's supposed to stay nice and attached. Now, this is where a lot of people get misguided information. In the traditional non-neurologic population, we would tell people to activate the protractors because that kind of helps to hold that side of the shoulder blade down. Now, the way that you activate those muscles is you would do something like a prone plank or quadruped or push-up position. I do not find that to be effective at addressing this winging issue when it comes to post-stroke winging. And I think it's because it's not necessarily due to that weakness that holds that shoulder blade down. I think it's due to spasticity in the muscles on the front that pull the shoulder blade forward and cause this to pop up. Just my opinion, but in my experience, the traditional way exercises that you would get from an orthopedic therapist to stop that winging are not effective after a stroke. Why do I tell you all that? The best position, in my experience, is to have the arm extended, right? And loading the arm in this position. Now, why is that? Because it kind of elongates all these muscles on the front and it doesn't allow them to be like as active. But what it also does is it activates a lot of muscles on the back of the shoulder that might actually help to pull that shoulder blade backwards and stop it from tipping forward and kind of almost like falling off of your thorax or your ribs in the front direction. Okay, a little bit complicated. Hopefully I simplified it enough just to tell you all that if you have a lot of winging and you're being provided with a lot of exercises to activate those protractors, meaning they're giving you a lot of exercises with your arm in flexion, my suggestion would be to do more with the arm in extension. But then one final decision that you will need to make before selecting the exercise is deciding where you're at in the recovery process. Can you support your body weight on an extended arm? Yes or no? Because then that matters, because then you will know, do you need to do these weight-bearing exercises, or can you do these weight-bearing exercises on an extended arm, which is absolutely ideal, or to set yourself up for success, do you need to do these exercises on your elbow, which is still extremely valuable. But you just need to know to make sure that you're not going to get discouraged or frustrated because you're selecting an arm extended position and you don't have the ability to maintain that arm straight. Then you're missing out on the weight-bearing activity or the weight-bearing component of this altogether. Okay? So now we're going to go into a few different exercises on each of those three positions: flexion, abduction, and extension. And I'll give you a couple variations of elbow bent, or on your elbow, and on an extended arm. And the easiest variation, if you're in the early stages of recovery, is just sitting and having your arms on a table. Once you're in this position, this is flexion, right? Flexion. You just lean forward, try and lean forward as far as you can, and you can vary the difficulty of this just based on the height of the table and how far out you move your arms. The further out you are, the more load there's going to be on that arm. And then what I like to do is do a little bit of reaching. That further gives you that axial load through that arm, and reach. If you're a little bit more advanced, you can do it on extended arms by just standing up. If you have the strength in your arms, but you don't have the wrist flexibility, find some way. You can either set your arms up on a block or some way where your fingers can kind of be curled off on the other side so that your fingers can bend. A lot of times that'll allow you to get a little bit more wrist extension. Now for abduction, this would probably be the simplest one if you're in the early stages of recovery. One thing you want to pay attention to is that your elbow or your shoulder is not popping forward and it's not dropping back. You want it to be in a direct line with your arm or with your elbow. So if you look down, It shouldn't be in front of your elbow and it shouldn't be behind your elbow. Your shoulder should be in direct line. And this is abduction. If you're a little bit higher level and you have arm strength, absolutely do this with your arm extended. Now, remember what I said about that elbow flare, and depending on the position of your arm bone, if you externally rotate your hand out so your fingers are pointing away from you, that can kind of help to give you a little bit of a constraint so that you cannot, or that elbow will not involuntarily flare out. So that has to do with your hand position. Just kind of flip your hand around. The other thing that this is valuable for in flipping that hand around is if you're someone where you have no elbow strength at all yet, if you flip your hand around, it's just physics. Your elbow cannot bend as easily. So if you're in the early stages or you're transitioning from like down on elbow to an extended arm, start by flipping your hand around. As you get stronger, you do want to do it with your arm fingers pointing forward, because that's really a coordinated entire arm movement. But then remember in last week's video, I also said one benefit of weight bearing on your arm is that you can kick in some of the safety mechanisms. That's where I really love like laying down on your side and on your stomach for some of these exercises. This is abduction, but there's something in us that doesn't want to fall forwards or backwards, right? It's like a safety protective mechanism. So you want to focus on, if you're going to do this exercise, again, this is weight bearing, focus on not falling forward and not falling backwards. And sometimes that helps to kind of activate some of those deeper shoulder stabilizers. And then if you wanted to make it a little bit more challenging on that dynamic stability that we talked about, strengthening all those muscles around the shoulder that really help it to kind of keep that ball in the socket and help to maintain that stability through movement, you can try a little hip lift. Now, before you think you can't do this, if you are someone that's a little bit higher level, but you're like, oh, that looks really scary, use this arm as much as you want to. You're still getting excellent weight bearing, and you're still really kind of challenging a lot of those stabilizers. And then if you're even higher level, you can do what we call side sitting, propped up on an extended arm. Again, use this arm as much as you need to. Try not to let the shoulder, again, fall backwards or forwards. You really want everything in a straight line so that you can maintain that nice shoulder scapula position and really minimize some of those compensatory movements that can occur at the shoulder. And again, fingers pointing forward is going to be a little bit harder. If your elbow has a tendency to flare out, turn those fingers out. And then as far as flexion, of course, I love prone on elbows. Prone on elbows, reaching with the opposite arm. Again, try to push that shoulder away from your ear. Try not to let it ride up to your ear. And try not to let that elbow pull in like that. Those are the two most common mistakes or compensations, and you can work on reaching. And then, of course, if you're a little bit higher level, this is a go-to favorite of many therapists, is quadruped. And then you can do the same thing. Reach out on an extended arm. And then the final category that often gets neglected is extension. Now, a lot of you will probably need some help to get into this position, or maybe you just don't have the range of motion at all, but super valuable position to get into. Arms extended, weight bearing, really gets those scapular shoulder blade muscles engaged. This is another one where if you're a little bit higher level, turn those hands around so that your fingers are pointing backwards if you don't know if you can fully support your body weight yet. And then you're just going to lean onto those arms. You can do a little bit of reaching with your other arm. It's a great position. Try and push those shoulders away from your ears and kind of back behind you as you do that reaching. Great, great, great position. But I'm going to show you one final position. If you can't do shoulder extension in that position, that might be a variation that you'll be able to do. All right, now I know I say this all the time with a lot of exercises, but this is truly one of my favorite exercises, and it is a seated bridge. So you're going to start sitting arms back slightly behind you, and then you're just gonna scoot your hips off the front of the mat. For those of you that have been around for a while, I know you probably get sick of this exercise, but it is absolutely one of my favorites. If you don't have the range of motion in your wrists, you can move your hands to the front edge. The one thing you want to pay attention to is that you're not shifting your weight shifting your body weight forward off your arms. That's probably one of the most common compensations. So you really do kind of want to make sure that your hips are getting in front of your hands. That's how you know you're getting some loading through those arms. The other thing you want to make sure is get your feet out as far as you can in front of you. That again will make sure that there's weight on those arms. And then you can do some reaching if you're a little bit higher level. You can do marching. All of that will help to get that weight bearing with your arms extended. And then adding some of those other movements, such as the reaching or the marching, really helps you to kind of load that arm with as little compensation as possible. And then the final variation that I'm going to show today is for those of you that I mentioned that you can do shoulder flexion in some positions but not in other positions. What I love about a wall plank is that you can position your arm in the exact position where you feel like you lose that strength and just hold it and then do what I call just like little hand slides or movements with your uninvolved hand. This is the arm that you're working. This is the opposite arm. Okay? But that is it for this video. This finishes a two-part series on upper extremity weight bearing. I hope it was helpful in giving you insight, but also this second video is helpful in giving you some ideas of some weight bearing exercises that you can incorporate into your home exercise program based on your stage of recovery. Again, if this video resonated with you, don't forget we do have a gold membership program that was really designed to help you be able to gain clarity, set realistic goals, break down movements, and really teach you how to be the executor of your home exercise program so that you don't have to be so reliant on those once a week or twice a week physical therapy sessions and outsourcing all of your recovery to an insurance company or to a physical therapy clinic schedule. It really puts you back in the driver's seat, giving you 24/7 access to work on your recovery and restore your mobility. To learn more about our membership programs or to sign up, you can visit rehab-hq.com. I enjoyed spending time with you all today, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good day.